Hello everyone, Johnny Minder here, and today we are continuing to learn Japanese with Pokémon FireRed. Last time we checked out the bag, especially because we had that package, that thing to be delivered to Professor Oak to check before it disappears, before its disappearance. Because after that, of course, we actually went back to Pallet Town, handed over that to Oak, and of course, because of that, then we got the Pokédex, also our first Pokéballs. But we checked most of what Oak had to say, but not fully. So today first we'll start with that. And after that, we actually check out some things around Pallet Town, and then we'll be able to go back towards Viridian City. We'll see how far we get today. But let's start, first and foremost with the Oak's speech. And we have some of them. This should be the first one. No, not this one, this one. We had some of them also because of parts that disappeared to show them by stopping with the recordings. But this one should be the last thing we had seen. I simply mentioned the translation for this. Here, as in when handing over, for that purpose, I'm willing, I will, as in, I'm willing to give you the needed items for that purpose, as mentioned above. Perfect. And here it says, Reddo wa Goko Monster Boru o Moratta. As usual, first and foremost, Reddo, the name of our protagonist, Red from English, the topic particle wa. And then we have the numeral plus counter combination, Goko. Got the dictionary, the one with those to check the accent. But first and foremost, Ko is the counter for items. Can also items, things, we could say. Usually small, but technically in general, or pieces. It's of Chinese origin, so we use mostly Chinese numerals as usual, with the only exceptions, which are the usual ones, 4 and 7, although 7 usually has also the variants with the Chinese numeral. And I wanted to check, as soon as I can find it, the accents. I feel like we might have seen it before, but we'll check it once more. Ko. And there it is. And luckily, I thought so, but I wanted still to check just to be sure. It's always accented before Ko itself. So Ikko, Niko, Sanko, Yonko, Goko, our one, Rocco, 7個、8個 or 8個、9個, 10個 or 10個 as usual. So yeah, the only the contractions for the usual numbers, 1, 6, for 8 optional in this case, and then the usual variants for Ju and G for 10. Nowadays, usually with Ju, although the original one was technically G, because the number 10 was actually G Pu, so yeah, G Pu, and so yeah, that's why there's the contraction. And then with the pronunciation, actually it became G U, and so yeah, then Ju for the number itself. But yeah, numeral plus counter in its usual position. There are two of them. The one we have seen both actually before. In this series, more this one, which is the usual spot when before. Well, actually, this one is kind of unusual in the sense that technically it's before the noun itself, and so usually it would require the possessive particle, although it isn't present here, also potentially due to limitations of the game itself. But it's clear anyway. The other position is actually before the verb. So in our case would be Redowa, Monster, Boru, Goko, Moratta. Again, doesn't change. Monster, Boru, of course, Monster Ball from English. We have already seen it, the term for Pokeballs in general in Japanese. The object particle O retains wo, pronounced as such in careful speech and also singing. And then the verb moratta, from morau, to receive. Verb, codan verb, to make theta form, like in this case, we have to follow the rules. It's in U. So actually, as already mentioned, also for the Ju, verbs in U, as in straight up the kana U, were actually in Pu originally. So yeah, first it must certainly change the U into I. Ju Pi, sorry, I was thinking of the other. Mora Pi Ta. And then the I fell, Morapta, difficult to pronounce, so became simply doubling of the following consonant. And yeah, ta form, so simply here past form of the verb in plain speech. And yeah, so here pretty easy. As for red, he implied received 5 monster balls. So of course, yeah, again, we don't specify the plural. We don't have to specify the plural. We can with pluralizing suffixes and similar ways, but yeah, you usually, and especially for things, literal objects, like in this case, yeah, we usually don't. And yeah, so the term can be either singular or plural depending on the context. Yeah, so we can continue. Yeah, and yeah, here we have the usual structure. I think it's straight up identical to ones we have seen before, except for a detail. Of course, in our case, the monster ball, well, of course, the monster ball, and also the boru pocketto, so literally the ball pocket from English. Otherwise, the structure is the same, so actually I won't repeat it. The translation is, as for red, he put away as in the past, again, we have Shimata from Shimau, here with that meaning. Into, that's why we have the particle ni. The ball pocket. Yeah, the object, the monster balls. Yeah. Okay. To press that. Doesn't matter because we have to go to the next part here. It says, Yasei no Pokémon ga tobidashite kitara chansu. And yeah, first and foremost, we have Yasei, and yeah, typical term we have seen for these, for Pokemon games, because yeah, it means wild. Chinese compound, so luckily unaccented like most of those. Noun, but one of those that takes the possessive particle to make in practice an adjective. So yeah, wild something, yeah, wild Pokemon, usually in these games. Subject particle ga. Tobidashite. And yeah, compound verb we have seen before. Tobidasu. From tobu, to fly, but also to jump. Again, makes sense when you think of it, considering that when you start flying, technically you make a jump, you leap. Yeah, either way they are clearly related in Japanese. Can use different kanji, even though not always, to specify one or the other. Tobu, by the way, unaccented on its own, but yeah, here we change the U into I to make the continuative form U verb codant verb. Continuative form required to then attach the second verb part of the compound, dasu. We then studied the kanji of that, to put, get, take, out, and so on. Various extended meanings. When used as the second verb part of a compound verb, it usually has the meaning simply out, like in our case, clearly. The other meaning is, by extension, to burst into, and yeah, we'll see it again when it happens to show up, so you see it in practice. But yeah, here straight up simply out, so yeah, literally to jump out. Dasu accented. Tobidasu also luckily accented, so no changes. We have seen other ones that unfortunately do change. Verb can verb, so to make the te form, we have to follow the rules, but being in su, it's the easiest one. We simply change the u into I to make the continuative form and then attach the te. Te form in this case required because then we had the verb kuru, accented, to come. Unfortunately, one of the completely irregular verbs in Japanese, so we straight up have to remember that its continuative form is ki, and so then actually use that to make the ta form kita. Being the I barely heard if at all in that case, then being between our voice consonants, usually the accent moves, so yeah, moves on the ta. Here, not the ta form on its own, because then we had the ra, and so actually make one of the forms of the conditional in Japanese. If can also have a temporal meaning when, just like in English. And this one puts the focus on the action of the verb in this form, having happened before the rest of the sentence can happen. Yeah, makes sense since it's straight up made from the ta form of the verb, as we can see. And yeah, after that we simply have chansu from English. let's check its accent, even though I think it's straight up the same. The only change, of course, is the additional U, because the S can stay on its own. And yeah, the accent is the same. So yeah, the translation of this part is simply didn't mention, by the way, that after the form we have the verb kuru. Usually when we add verbs of movement, simply iku to go or kuru, like this in this case to come. It can have also extended meanings. We have seen, for example, teiku going forward in a temporal sense, but yeah, usually physically, simply with the movement, can literally be simply do the action of the verb in te and go or come, or doing the action of the verb in te with that kind of movement. Yeah, in our case, the translation here, if, or better when, we could say in this case, I think, while the Pokemon jump out at you, we could say, by adapting it, because yeah, that tekuru means that the action of the jumping out that the Pokemon do is towards you, as in now we are Ox, the ones Oak is speaking to. But yeah, in general, actually, in this case, so yeah, simply when while Pokemon jump out and with the movement towards the trainers, a trainer, that's it's a chance. Oh yeah, pretty simple. Oh yeah, that's. I didn't want to go too far. Okay. And yeah, after that it says Monster boru o poi to nagereba. And yeah, first and foremost we have again Monster boru. Funny enough, now also the Monster Akado. You might have heard from that Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged. But yeah, and of course Yu-Gi-Oh! In general. But yeah, the Monster Ball, object particle. Then we have this poi with the exclamation mark. And yeah, so straight up and onomatopoeia, of course. Poi technically used as an adverb, I don't know, but it would usually, well, actually, also in our case, carelessly, as in of throwing, tossing, nonchalantly, casually. Funny enough, here we straight up also have this exclamation mark before the top article, and so yeah, with a poi, in the sense that it's the quotation particle, so yeah, with and then the quotation. Although you can also consider it like it does here, then simply an adverb that takes the top article, but yeah, in this case straight up because it's an onomatopoeia, so not weird at all. Then we have this nagereba from nageru, to throw, hurl, fling, toss, cast, all those meanings. By extension also to throw away, as in give up, abandon. Can also be to, by extension, to cast a glance, shadow, and so on. But yeah, here simply in its fundamental meaning to throw, accented, nageru. Ru verb is a verb, so we can change the U into E to then add ba and make another form of the conditional. In this case, this is the closest one to the first conditional in English. Of course, not always. We have seen a case, for example, in practice in a previous series. Not this one, I think a previous series, in which in translation it was better as a second conditional. But yeah, still worth keeping that in mind to distinguish them overall between these forms of the conditional, or again also in a temporal sense. Yeah, so here it says that if when you throw a monster ball, so a Pokeball, with a poi, literally, so yeah, actually, technically, carelessly, as mentioned, and then, of course, the sentence continues. Yeah, actually, in this case, straight up, I think that it's straight up just the sound of the throwing. Because yeah, in this after that it says Pokémon no Tsukamae Rareru. So yeah, I was thinking that it could be straight up in the sense mentioned by the dictionary, but no. Depending on the rest of the sentence, but no, simply the throwing and then the sound that it makes. And yeah, then we have a Pokemon, the object particle O, and then the verb Tsukamae Rareru. And yeah, the verb, the base verb, is the one we have already seen in this very series. Unsurprisingly, since yeah, it's quite an important verb for Pokemon. Tsukamaeru, I think it was accented. No, unaccented, sorry. So Tsukamaeru, to catch. Yeah. Also in the sense to capture, to arrest, to seize, to restrain, and other meanings. But yeah, here simply its fundamental meaning to catch. Ru verb is a verb, so we can change the U into A and then add re ru to make, in this case, the potential form of the verb. We can tell from the context. It's worth mentioning that unfortunately, for ru verbs, Epsilon verbs, this is the way you make also the passive. But yeah, the context helps. It also helps in other cases that this is the full form, but usually the potential can also be shortened by dropping the ra. But yeah, the context is enough here. It's clearly can catch, not is cast, is caught, sorry. We can also see it because of the object particle there. Funny enough, we've seen that the potential technically would require the Ga particle, the subject particle. Yeah, in this case also to avoid confusion, I guess they added the object particle. And honestly, yeah, nowadays it's not as strict keeping this changing the object particle into the subject one for the potential. Unlike, of course, unless it's straight up a form that's kept as is, yeah, of course, immediately comes to mind Kotogade Kiru, which, funny enough, is another way to make the potential of verbs in general. But anyway, the translation here is simply, yeah, we have mentioned if you throw a monster ball, a Pokeball, with a poi, with the sound there, you can catch a Pokemon. And yeah, we can continue. And yeah, then there's this part. So this was what I was actually thinking about, potentially keeping the meaning of poi mentioned by the dictionary. By the way, I didn't mention its accent, if present, because honestly, yeah, simply accented. So yeah, on the po. In this case, most likely it's OE, a diphthong anyway, so it couldn't stay on the E. But yeah, anyway, accent on the first mora. So pretty easy. Poito. But yeah, after that, Professor Oak here says Tadashi, and then suspension dots. So yeah, first and foremost, we have this Tadashi, which is a conjunction. However, and yeah, this is the one technically, but yeah, this is found at the start of a sentence. Here, well, then we have the suspension dots, but yeah. Usually at the start of a sentence and then the rest of it. The accent is on the ta, on the first mora. And then we have umaku, toreruka, doka, wa, wakaranzo. And yeah, first we have this umaku from umai. Technically has several meanings, as we've seen it before. In this case, most certainly the easiest one, the most basic one. On its own, umai can mean skillful, simply good then, but yeah, in that sense, expert, clever, and so on. In other contexts, also delicious, tasty, good, with different kanji usually. This one, if written with kanji, would be with the kanji of up, top, and hand, which we have studied. Usually nowadays written in kana alone, even when using kanji. But yeah, the adjective, so we can drop the E and add ku to make the adverbial form. Again, can also be seen as a continuative form because it's also used for further conjugation. In this case, on its own, yeah, so actually adverbial form because it can be used as an adverb to make the adverb from any adjective. The accent moves because yeah, umai should be accented, yes it is, and so on the second to last mora as usual, but the adverbial form is accented on the third to last, so yeah, it moves umaku. And so yeah, simply well in this case. Then we have toreru, from toru, to take. Funny enough, we have seen it in Pokémon Snap that with a different kanji usually it can also mean to take photos specifically. We've seen it a lot in that game for that reason, but yeah, here simply to take more in general. Several extended meanings, but yeah, this is the fundamental one. U verb, code verb, so we can change the u into e and then add ru to make the potential form of the verb. Luckily, in this case, it can be confused with other things. So yeah, can take. And then we have this ka. Technically, the interrogative particle can you take it well? As we see, not exactly in the sense because of the rest of the sentence, but it's still important to keep it in mind. Then we have this do on its own, part of the do series, co-close to both the speaker and the listener, so far from the speaker close to the listener, far from both, do the interrogative, also I usually an accent, do accent on do itself, with the additional u, so actually long to make the long vowel do, the interrogative pronoun, how, because it would be in what way, so yeah, then simply how. And then we have again the interrogative particle ka. So how implied is it? And yeah, this expression for technical can also be used at the end of a sentence. And yeah, we would have two questions, one with a verb, a proper one, so yeah. Is it possible to take it? And then that doka actually has the meaning where with this expression ka doka is whether or not. So yeah, it's the or not part, the doka. Yeah, in the sense, again, is it possible? How is it? As in, actually, is it not possible? But then actually it doesn't stop here in this case, because then we have the topic particle wa written as ha again, and then we have the verb wakaran from wakaru, to understand. Can also be as in then to know technically by extension. Verb go and verb accented, by the way. So we can change the u into a to make the irrealis form, not yet state form, the negative form of the verb. And yeah, to add then you that which is a form of the negative, not the usual one. We have seen that usually we would add nai, the adjective which means non-existent, to make the regular negative form in contemporary Japanese. This is an abbreviation from an older form of the negative in classical Japanese. Yeah, still simply the meaning is negative form. And then last but not least, we have the particle zo, male term or language, adds force, or indicates command, as we have seen. I'd say actually simply can, technically we could say adds force in the sense of emphasis. Yeah, male term or language. But yeah, so actually, apart from being part of the kadoka structure, because yeah, usually it's found like that, the final ka is actually also required by to have it in this structure here, because yeah, when we have ka as technically also a quotation particle in a way, when we make indirect questions. Yeah, we have seen already in a more simple way without the addition of the ka, do, ka. Yeah, so there's that, so yeah. However, the translation, you don't understand, so yeah, in the sense you don't know if in English we would simply then adapt it, whether you got, as in the Pokemon, well or not. And yeah, so we can continue. And yeah, this is the part that I mentioned why I suspected the boy could have that meaning, because of that. And then he adds, Genki na Pokemon wa nige yasui shi mo aru kara na. First and foremost, we have Genki, the adjective, na adjective, Chinese compound, but one of those accented on the first mora. Still one of the most common ways accents for those. Literally original spirit, mind, and so on, the usual key. Its meanings are lively, full of spirit, energetic, vigorous, and so on. By extension, also healthy. So actually, technically, both work in this case. Na adjective, and yeah, we can see it here. So yeah, we use the na to then attach it to the noun it modifies. Pokemon in our case, so yeah. Lively, energetic, healthy Pokemon. And we have the topic particle wa. Nige yasui. So yeah, first from nigeru, to flee, to run away, to get away, and so on, to escape. Accent, okay, so nigeru, low, high, low. Then other extended meanings, but yeah, fundamentally to escape. Actually, this is the intransitive form of the verb. The transitive one is nigasu. There are actually other forms of this verb, but it was still worth mentioning this one specifically because, yeah, as usual, notice that one in eru, the intransitive, the one in asu, the transitive, yeah, the one in asu most likely is a classical form of the causative, to let, to make, free. So then simply to free someone or something. But yeah, here we have the intransitive. Yeah, it's the Pokemon that escapes, flees. But yeah, ru verb is then verb. So we can drop the ru to make the continuative form, to then add yasui. And yeah, we have mentioned it also potentially last time. Easy to do the action of the verb part of this compound, because yeah, in practice it's technically compound with the verb plus, in its continuative form of course, plus the adjective yasui. It's worth mentioning that yasui usually it's not used on its own for the meaning easy. So these are specific adjectives technically used for these structures. Yeah, we have seen nikui, I mentioned it, hard, the opposite. There's also the older form, katai, also found as katai, yeah, found it. That one we have straight up found it in the expression arigato, for the thanks, as in for something that's difficult to exist, so yeah, actually in the sense of rare, and so yeah, worth being thankful of, and so on. We have already seen that before. After that, and luckily we have seen also that the accent when we add yasui and ikui is always on the is kept, so yeah, they are accented and they keep the accent, luckily. Then we have this particle C, we could say actually kind of a conjugation, and usually more in actually because, since, but a peculiar one, because this one indicates one of several reasons which can be expressed or can simply be implied. Or yeah, also we've seen it as at sentence head, it gives also the reason for an unstated but deducible conclusion. So still related to that meaning, but here not, so yeah, simply as in that because or since, or can then become simply a more simple and, but technically it has that meaning. Then we have un, which is actually, funny enough, the Chinese reading of kanji, but yeah, this one used on its own. It means, it's a noun, which means fortune, luck, chance, accented. So yeah, of course the accent can only stay on the u, can stay on the n, on the moral nasal. Then we have the inclusive particle mo, also even. And then we have the verb aru, to be as in to exist, of inanimate things, so yeah, objects, locations, abstract things, like in our case, fortune, luck, chance. After that we have kara, because, since, and yeah, this is the more one of the more regular ones, can also be found at the end of a sentence, like in this case. And then, last but not least, we have this final sentence particle na, which is the bane of my existence, because it has more than one meaning, some specific to it. In other cases, straight up can replace ne or even yo. So yeah, then it simply depends on the context. And there's also the weird aspect that technically, especially would be the meanings typical of ne, would technically be of Kansai dialect, this usage of na. But yeah, anyway, the translation is so, as for lively, full of spirit, healthy, let's say better that in this case, Pokemon, it's easy for them, with the intransitive verb, to flee, to escape. We could adapt it, and so there is also to be as in to exist, then we can translate it simply as there is, there are. There's also luck, chance, fortune. By that we could add in English involved. So yeah, it depends on luck then. Yeah, we can continue. Then Professor Oak says, この世界のすべてのポケモンを記録した。First we have この, the demonstrative adjective, these or these. Here these, because after that we have sekai, Chinese compound, accent on the first more, this one, word, this word, can also be society, universe. Again, no, the fundamental meaning is world. And then we have another, we have the possessive particle no of this word. After that, we have subete, which means all. Technically a noun, even though it clearly comes from the form of a verb. Nowadays uses is simply applied the subete, the reading to the kanji, which means all. And can, by the way, straight up also be written using kana alone anyway. Yeah, the accent, by the way, is on the su. But yeah, a noun, but yeah, again, one of those that can take the possessive particle to make them in practice an adjective. So yeah, all, something, yeah, Pokemon, in our case, object particle. And then we have kiroku, and then the verb shita. Kiroku means to, well, it's a noun fundamentally. Chinese compound as usual, unaccented this one. Record, document, log, and so on. Of course, also recording, writing down. Noun, but we can turn it into a verb by adding suru, the verb which means to do, unaccented on its own. And yeah, here, in its form, unfortunately, again, suru is completely irregular, so we have to remember that its continuative form is shi, and then we add simply the ta. Luckily, in that sense, both suru and kuru act like reverse incident verbs in the sense that we simply change them into their continuative forms, and then we attach ta or te. No further changes. Yeah, so that form of the verb, so past form. I suspect it might continue after. Okay, let's actually over. Yeah, okay. As I suspected, it continues, but yeah, first we can actually translate up to here. As you might have seen, it continues, and yeah, it's actually a relative clause, that one. So yeah, that registered, that recorded, we could better, in this case, that recorded all the Pokemon of this world. Yeah. Because, yeah, it continues as mentioned, so it's a relative clause. And then it continues with Kampeki na Zuka no tsukuru koto. First we have this Kampeki, an adjective, as we can see straight up. It has the na here, of course. It means perfect, complete, flawless, unaccented, by the way, yeah. Chinese compounds, so typical of those. After that, we have Zukan, and yeah, the usual term we have seen for Pokédex, because Zukan means unaccented, another Chinese compound, pictorial book, illustrated reference book, and so on. The object particle, and then we have tsukuru, to make. That's its fundamental meaning without considering then extended ones and also kanji used, different kanji used depending on that. fundamental meaning, though, anyways, to make. And then, last but not least, we have koto. Technically, thing as in matter, nominalizer for verbs, as we have seen. Yeah, straight up in this case to make it into to nominalize the verb. Oops, I don't want to do that. Yeah, it is. We see what. I think it continues in the following part. To make or making a perfect, complete, flawless, however you want to translate it, Dex, as in, again, the pictorial book, illustrated reference book, and so on. That, and then we have the part we have already translated that has recorded, so better in the sense, so yeah, in the sense that it has already been recorded in that there all the Pokemon of this world. Okay. Yeah. Here it says that we had that koto at the end, because after that it says Sore ga washi no yume datta. Sore, the demonstrative pronoun that, here simply singular because it's referred to that doing that we have just mentioned. Subject particle ga. Washi, the usual pronoun for oak, first person singular pronoun I, abbreviation of watashi, also abbreviation of watashi. Yeah, washi, the one used by old people, usually old males. Yeah, usually considered, can be considered male term or language, also that. Here with the possessive particle no, so yeah, actually my. Then we have yume. We have even studied this kanji, funny enough, in Kirby's Adventure, because yeah, it's present in that in the title of that game. Actually, the accent is yume, so yeah, on the me. Last but not least, then we have datta, from da, the copula in plain speech. Here in its past form, in its sta form, so a past form of the verb in the affirmative. As a reminder, it actually comes from de atta, so yeah, actually de aru. We have aru again, so yeah, verb colon verb. To make that a form, we have to follow the rules. It's in ru, so it becomes, we change the u into i, the ari ta. Then the ifel, the ar ta, difficult to pronounce, so simply became double consonant ta. The atta. Now in plain speech, contracted into data, as we can see here. The aru forms can actually still be found in plain speech, used. Ciao Guillaume, hello. Nice to see you here. Yeah. Still found the aru actually in more formal contexts. It's a formal or literary term, while of course actually when speaking more formally as in literally speaking, you might straight up then find polite forms like des, so desta in its ta form, in its past form. But yeah, formal or literary. Yeah, the arrow is the one found usually in books. For example, it would be the one you should find technically in books about dictionaries and so on. I say we can take our break here around 5 minutes, most likely slightly less. So after that we'll continue. We have still some part here, but at least we got already a good chunk of it. So see you in around 5 minutes, most likely slightly less. And we're back. And so we can continue. It's this one. So by the way, you can see how far we got. We're on this one. And then there's the last one, which is longer, but then it will be the last one. We left that Professor Oak said that was my dream. And then he says, Shikashi, Washimo, Mo, Gigi. First and foremost, we have Shikashi. That first E barely heard if at all, of course, being between unvoiced consonants. A conjunction, which means however. Another one of those. Then we have washi again with the inclusive particles, so yeah, also I, even I. Then we have mo, already in this case. We have seen that in other cases it can have other meanings. Well, the still related soon can also be further or more in the sense of further. But yeah, here simply already accented, by the way, more, of course, on the mo itself, because it can stay on the accent on the long vowel, which is that U is the long O, is the lengthening of O. Already, and then last but not least, we have this GG. Which comes from GG, a term for old man, on its own, usually accented on in its short form, which is technically the original one, on the first G, with the longer vowel, like in this case, on the second G, GG, low, high, low. And yeah, old man, yeah, usually in this form here with the longer vowel, it becomes old geezer. Yeah, also technically derogatory. And by the way, you can see that most likely related to the Ji-san for Oji-san, for grandpa, grandfather, and so, all those usages of that. But yeah, so yeah, Professor Rocky says, however, even I'm already an old man, if not straight up an old geezer. And yeah, after that he says, Sokomade muri wa dekin. First we have Soko, that place, so yeah, then there, so with the ko place, that place, and then simply there. Made, we have the particle, up to, until, can have both a physical, as in movement, or temporal meaning. Yeah, by the way, on its own, technically, the accent is on ma, of made, which shows up, for example, with unvoiced nouns like this one, soko. Soko made should be, so yeah, low, high, high, and then low for the de. Then we have muri. Literally, muri means unreasonable, cioè without a reason, more specifically. The mu, I think we've actually studied already. Let me actually quickly check just to be completely sure. But I feel like we have, which by the way is also the kanji for nai, even though nowadays is usually not used, especially not when used in conjugations. Let me quickly see. It's here, okay. Yeah, I feel like we have studied it. Yeah, we have actually seen it again in Kirby's Adventure. By the way, if you are, if you want to check that, if you haven't seen them yet or want to review them with our series, you can find that in the description of playlists, the kanji we studied in each series, and their parts. So yeah, just wanted to mention that in case you are interested. But yeah, of course, there are so many other ways to check it elsewhere as well. But yeah, without reason, literally. So usually an adjective, so then unreasonable. So we could say that then by extension, impossible. Other similar extended meanings. One of the extended meanings, which is the one that interests actually us here, is to work or try too hard, or simply then as in, well, that one then actually when used usually on its own, no way, not a chance, never, dream on, colloquial. Yeah, I mentioned the one to work, try too hard, because then, yeah, we have the topic particle wa. But then we have the verb dekin from dekiru, to be able to do. And yeah, used actually as a replacement for suru in its potential form. And instead of conjugating suru to make the potential form, like we can do for all other verbs, we have to straight up replace it with the kiru. But yeah, it makes sense considering that the kiru already has the meaning to be able to do. Ru verb is some verb, so we can drop the ru, make the, in this case, technically the irrealis, not yet state, negative form, to then add again, so as a negative in this case. So yeah, what he's saying here, as for working, trying too hard, up to there, as in figurative at that point, we could say, by adapting it. I can't do it. So yeah, that's why muri, suru, then we had suru, but yeah, here there's also the wa particle in the middle, and also replacing, of course, suru with the kiru to make because it's in the potential form. And yeah, after that it says sokode. Again, we have soko there. In this case, as in figuratively, again, technically there, being there, we could say. I suspect that the in this case is straight up the form of the copula. Yeah, used as a conjunction. So, well, technically, yeah, the translations I see there, thereupon, therefore, kind of could remind you of that, considering that, yeah. Soko means there. So similar in that way. Yeah, easier in Japanese, technically. Then we have omae. Actually, omae tachi. Omae on its own, second person singular pronoun, you. Colloquial, this one nowadays, originally honorific, as can be seen from that honorific prefix so, added to mae in front, yeah, most likely originally because the one you that are in front of me from that sense. Yeah, nowadays very informal. We had the tachi, one of the pluralizing suffixes mentioned, actually the most common one. luckily we have seen that the accent for when we add tachi is always before it. So yeah, omae tachi. And then we have the particle ni. Tu, I'd say in this case, we'll see with the rest of the sentence, the topic particle wa. Then we have washi, again, no. So yeah, mai. Then we have this kawari. Comes from the verb kawaru. We have seen, actually more often than not, kaeru, the transitive form. But yeah, this is the intransitive form. Notice that one in eru, the other one in aru, but actually in waru, because yeah, most likely it was actually ka-we-ru. But then that changed while there is one remained the wa. But yeah, to change, depending then on the kanji, it can have several extended meanings. This is the one, as in to take the place of, to substitute for. You can see pretty easily why it's still related to the. We use the strictly Japanese word verb still for to change for this extended meaning. Verb colon verb, we can change the U into I to make the conjugative form used as the corresponding noun. So yeah, kawari should be unaccented if it follows the rules. It does. Substitute, replacement, also substituting, replacing technically, but yeah, usually straight up the noun, not the in form of the verb used as a noun. So yeah, as my substitutes, I have another particle ni. Yeah, we see all the translations, well, meanings, and especially translations of this ni when we have the full sentence, because yeah, of course it continues. And after that it says yume o hatashite hoshii no ja. We have again yume, the dream, object particle, hatashite. Here actually, funny enough, we have seen it before as an expression, and again technically as the form of the verb. In that case, it was actually as it has the meaning as was sure enough, or really actually. We've seen it in the second one, interrogative and hypothetical interrogative and hypothetical sentences. We've seen it in Super Mario World, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, here we straight up actually have the form, but from because we use the verb hatasu. And yeah, as mentioned, it means to accomplish on its own, accented, to accomplish, to achieve, to carry out, to fulfill, realize, to execute, to perform, to do. Can also be used as the second word, second verb, part of a compound verb, as in to do completely / entirely. Yeah, here on its own, to accomplish, to fulfill. And yeah, as my substitutes. Yeah, we have verb and verb, we make the form, as already mentioned. In this case, because then we add hoshi, any adjective, which means wanting, desiring, wishing for, actually used on its own in a structure, something ga or she, usually the person, if explicited, that desires that something with a topic particle, cioè the usual waga structure. Here, after the form of a verb, it means I want someone else, you, them, and so on, to do the action of the verb in te. So yeah, in our case, here it's, well, last but not least, before forgetting, we have no ja, no the other nominalizer for verbs, thing as in fact. Then the topic, the copula, ja, here, because it's the one used by all characters in fiction, and yeah, oak is old. Also, considering he uses washi. Yeah, so then, not move there. So yeah, the translation, we have to go back up first. As for, therefore, as mentioned, so code, as to you, as in you two, I want you to fulfill my the dream, my dream implied, as my substitutes. So yeah, the first ni, as in, because he wants, is asking us to do, and then the other one required by that structure, no kawari ni, actually straight up, I mentioned it, yeah. Yeah, of course, at the end, so it is that I want you, and so on. Because yeah, not that, it is that, straight up literally, the fact is that, the explanation is that, and so on. Oh yeah, so we can actually continue. Oh yeah, funny enough, that was the end of that, perfect. Yeah, funny enough, after all that, he says, sa futari tomo, sasoku shuppatsu shite kurei. Kind of a weird form there at the end, but we'll see that in a second. First we have this sa. Well then. Come on, come now. Yeah, more like, yeah, used to urge or to encourage others, like in our case here. Can also indicate resolve, uncertainty, or hesitation. Several usages actually. But yeah, here is simply that. Come now. Then we have futari. Numeral plus counter combination can be seen here. Two people. Ri is of a strictly Japanese origin, so yeah, we use the Japanese numeral futa. The accent is on the ri. Futari. Then we have this particle tomo. Well, particle. In this case, better actually, technically, from a noun, tomo. That actually is also the particle tomo, but here is simply more that noun, which would be together with, can also mean same, but yeah, used also as a suffix. And technically, it applies also in our case here for both. All can also become neither or none, of course, then with negative verbs for that one. Here, both of you two. Then we have Sasoku. Chinese compound. This one should be accented on the first mora. We have seen it. No, actually, unaccented, sorry. Even easier than Sasoku. At once, immediately, without delay, better, because it uses funny enough, the two kanji for faster. Then we have Shuppatsu. This one we have straight up studied its kanji due to, again, Kirby's Adventure. Departure means Chinese compound, unaccented. The kanji that uses are the one for to exit, the usual one. And then Hatsu, which is more specific for departure, and then several extended meanings. Emit, start from also, but actually those are technically the fundamental meanings, and then more specifically departure. Shuppatsu means that. Noun, but we can make the verb by adding suru. Here is the form shite, and then we have kure. Then with this weird i, usually that's not the case, but I still think that it's simply from kureru. We have already seen it, one of the verbs of giving. This one, when the receiver is the speaker or someone close to the speaker, so someone else gives, or in this case being that after that the form of a verb does the favor of doing the action of the verb in te, becomes an auxiliary with that meaning. In our case, ok is the one that receives the favor because our protagonist, Red and Green, are doing it for him. Kureru is special because, as we have seen actually before, in this very series, I think, to make the imperative form in plain speech, we simply drop the ru. That's not how you usually do it. For a ru verb, it's a verb like kureru. That's the difference. So straight up, I think that's the case here. The E is weird. Maybe just to make it kind of longer. But I still think simply that's the meaning and the translation. So come now, both of you, please do the favor of departing immediately. At once, however you want to translate that Sasoku. We can continue. Okay, let's go. Okay, perfect. After that it says, I was laughing, by the way, because come now, immediately after he spoke for a while, and it took us a lot to go through all this speech. Then he says, これはポケモンの歴史に残る偉大な仕事だ。First and foremost, we have これは as for these, or these, demonstrative pronoun. These in this case, Pokémon, the possessive particle no. Then we have Rekishi, a Chinese compound. We'll check its accent. It means history. I think should be, no, okay, simply unaccented. By the way, the E of ki should be barely heard, if at all, because it's within a voice consonant. Rekshi, rekshi. Ni, in, technically, required by the verb, which is no koru. We've actually seen it before. It means to remain, to be left, the intransitive form of the verb. The transitive one is no ko su, to leave. Then there's more. Technically, a noun, there's an adjective before it, but yeah. Relative clause, up to included the verb, while excluding technically the korewa, because yeah, that's as for these, and then we have the relative clause. Wanted to specify that. Yeah, then we have idai, an adjective, as can be seen also here with the na. It means a great, grand, magnificent, outstanding, mighty. You might have guessed it based on the translation. Yeah, that dai is again the kanji for big we have already studied in this very series, by the way. Idai unaccented, Chinese compound, so unsurprising. And then we have, last but not least, is shigoto. Usually, well, it's technically a compound of strictly Japanese origin. She, again, suspiciously, technically is the Chinese reading of the kanji. But I suspect it's simply actually the continuative form of suru. We have already seen it in shite, shita. Goto is simply koto with the voicing because it's the second word part of the compound. It's of strictly, even more so since it's of strictly Japanese origin. Shigoto, unaccented. Yeah, be careful, it's one of those. Usually means work, as in straight up work, job, labor. We could say in this case better than by extension. Technically, it's one of these, its meanings anyway, clearly related to work. Task, assignment. And yeah, then last but not least, the copula, here with also the longer vowel for emphasis, for and yeah, the translation is as for these, it's a great, grand task which will remain. We have the verb of the relative clause in the present form, the dictionary form, so the present form of the verb in plain speech. So can be used also for a simple future. Yeah, in this case, it makes more sense like that. A grand task which will remain in Pokemon history. Yeah, that's. Yeah, we have that long vowel because yeah, it's like is for this emphasis that Oak puts into it. It's the. Shigoto ja. Yeah, you can continue. Yeah, finally, Oak has finished speaking. And Green has something to say. First and foremost, yosh. Also notice also here the longer vowel, simply to put more emphasis on it. Yeah, yosh. Instead of the usual yosh. But yeah, still from Yoshi. the classical form of the adjective yoi, usually used in when conjugating nowadays in contemporary Japanese. I is the form used on its own, means good, and yes, so this one also means good, more as in an exclamation, good, okay, alright, and so on. After that we have Jisan, and yeah, I guess mentioned already, grandfather. Here it's more familiar usage, also without the honorific prefix, so grandpa. And then it says Zenbu, ore ni makase na. First we have Zenbu, a noun, a Chinese compound, literally accented on the first mora, this one, literally all parts. So yeah, all, entire, whole, can also be used with the possessive particle no to make in practice an adjective, but yeah, here no, everything would be so as the noun. All we can also simply keep ore, I again, but this one better more language, but rough or arrogant, most likely. Also the letter in Green's case, particle ni to, because yeah, then we have the verb makasena from makaseru, to leave it, leave, of course, in the sense of a matter, decision, and so on, to someone, to entrust with. Similar meanings, but yeah, this is the fundamental one. Yeah, so leave it to me, says here. Makaseru, accent, okay, perfect. Ru it's and verb, so we can drop the ru to make the continuative form. In this case, to add this na, also longer with for emphasis, as mentioned. But yeah, this na is actually a contraction of nasai, from the verb nasaru, to do. This is the honorific, specifically respectful language, respectful form of suru, usually used in its continuative form. From nasaru, it's one of those that are verb god and verb, but it's one of those honorific forms, honorific verbs that make the continuative form slightly different, because yeah, we changed the u into i, nasari, but then the r fell, and so only the i remained, nasai, implying then, usually not used nowadays, masse, so the imperative form of mass, the auxiliary used for the polyform of verbs, cioè an imperative in polite speech. Here is simply then used with all these contractions, so it doesn't, not anymore technically polite speech, but yeah, still not straight up the imperative in of the verb with the imperative form of the verb in plain speech. So the translation is, yeah, we mentioned, all right, grandpa, leave it all to me. After that, he says, Reddo, cosas, zannen daga, omae no deban wa, and then it continues, but yeah, first we have zannen, it means regrettable, unfortunate, technically also disappointing, vexing, but yeah, usually unfortunate, also regrettable, but yeah, the fundamental translation meaning, I'd say unfortunate. Nowadays, it's a Chinese compound, but be careful because it's accented on the ne. San nen, low, high, high, low. Also used usually with nagara for to make this expression sannen nagara. Unfortunately, regrettably, literally while it's regrettable, unfortunate. Here we simply have it on its own. It's an adjective or a noun. Yeah, it uses the copula here, da. Then we have the ga, a conjunction, which means but. In this case, but to then continue, not at the start of the sentence. And then it says omae. By the way, omae unaccented, as we have seen. No, so yeah, actually your, of you, so yeah, your. And then we have this deban. A compound. Technically, this is a mixed one because the de is actually, again, simply from deru to go, come, get out, to exit. We've already studied this kanji. Ban is the one we have seen actually in as a counter for number. Yeah, used on its own, and also in this compound it means one's turn by extension. So yeah, technically turn to exit, as in to come out. We could say on stage, for example, but yeah, as you can, in general, to do something. So yeah, one's turn. Yeah, straight up, there's the translation. One's turn on stage, by the way, of the ban. Unaccented, the ban, so be careful. Then we have the topic particle wa. I actually move it and we'll translate it fully after when we have the full sentence. Yeah, because after that it says mataku neze. First we have this mataku. We have seen it actually before. An adverb. Yeah, can be seen actually with this ku, even though nowadays it's not used, the original verb matai, which means complete, whole, perfect, entire, for a formal term. Yeah, nowadays usually found straight up with the adverbial form mataku. So yeah, as an adverb, really, truly, entirely, completely, wholly, perfectly. But here, actually, we have then ne. This ne with a long vowel. This case not for emphasis because it's actually a contraction of nai, the adjective which we have mentioned, non-existent. I can add, it's also used as a replacement form for the negative of aru in plain speech, because yeah, aru to be as in to exist. Instead of conjugating, we straight up replace it with the adjective, which already means non-existent. Last but not least, we have this final sentence particle se, matter more language again. We have seen it. It can simply be I can tell you. Cioè simply adds light force or emphasis, or as translated in the dictionary here, online dictionary, so in that case actually used as to make a sentence threatening or ironic. Clearly more in these second usages for green. So that completely actually then gets a negative meaning in this case. The translation is it's unfortunate. Clearly it actually isn't from his point of view, and that's why we have the ironic Z at the end. It's unfortunate, but as for your turn, it won't be, there won't be your turn at all. Then we have to adapt it Mataku in that sense. After that it says soda. We have seen that so again means from technically that way, from the Kosodo series. When used actually as a noun, technically, like in this case, that's why we have then the copula da. It gets accented when used as an adverb, so it's in its original form. It's unaccented as per the rule, but here accented on the so, of course, not on the, can't be the accent on the longer vowel u, so on the long o. Usually used as in more it would be like that's right, because you thought about it, or we could keep it technically as that's it. After that it says uchi no nee-chan kara taun mappu o karite ikou. First we have uchi. And in this case, actually, I think that it's simply the uchi, technically. You could say from one's house, one's home. Technically, in the sense also of, one's home, one's family. Technically my, but because as in our families, a member of our family. Not the uchi as the pronoun, first person singular pronoun in Kansai dialect, as we have seen actually in this very series also. Then we have nee-chan, older sister, again this in this case the familiar usage. One-san would be here without the honorific prefix and also with the chan as the familiar suffix. Kara from. Town map, we have seen it before. O, the object particle. And then we have karite from kariru. We check its accent, I suspect unaccented, but we'll see. Yes, unaccented. It means to borrow. Ru verb is a verb, so we can drop the ru to make the continuative form, then simply attach the te form to make the te form. Touch that to make the te form. Here, to add then iku. Here, most likely, actually, simply in the sense of doing the action of the verb in te and then the other one. So first he'll borrow the map and then he'll go. Iku, verb colon verb, so we can change the u into o and then add u, so actually the long vowel o to make the evolutional form. Technically, let's, but yeah, not in this case clearly, would be I will go, as in is willing to go. Or you could technically be let's, but he's still actually speaking only about himself, clearly not involving Red in this case. Yeah, the translation is yeah, that's right, or that's it, because he thought about this. Let's, we could keep it as that, but yeah, as saying it to himself. Borrow from my sis, my older sister, the older sister of our home family, at our map. And yeah, then it continues. Then he says, Reddo ni wa, kasanai yo ni, neitsan ni ite okukara. And then it actually continues, but we can translate up to here. Reddo, again, ni, tu, then the topic particle wa, kasanai, from kasu. This one means to lend, also to loan by extension, to rent out and so on, but yeah, the fundamental meaning to lend, also an accent, kasu, verb colon verb, so we can change the u into a to make the irrealis, not yet state, negative form of the verb, and yeah, we then add nai. Here, after it, we have yo. So technically, strictly speaking, would be relative clause, modifying that yo. Or better, since we only have the verb, because before it we have the wa, a verb in attributive position, modifying that noun. But as we have seen before, this expression yoni, it actually means, in this case, in order to well, better, more than that would be so that, in order that, after that it says neitsan again, ni to my older sister, implied the my by clear from that neitsan again. Then we have ite from you. We've studied kanji, it means to say. Verb colon verb in u, so it becomes double consonant te. The form required because then we had oku, actually an accented oku, to put, to place on its own. When used after that form of a verb, it has the meanings to do something in advance, so figuratively putting it aside for future usage, or to leave something in a certain state, to keep something in a certain state, also pretty clear from to put, to place. And then we have kara. In this case should be because, but we see it with the rest of the sentence. So it says that as for to read, because I say in advance to my sis, my older sister, so that she doesn't lend it, implied the town map, and then we get that to read, and which is the topic here of the sentence. And yeah, then it says, Orenchie kitemo muda dakara na. Yeah, of course, I was laughing because of the Muda. You might have heard because of JoJo's Bizarre Adventures and also memes. But yeah. First we have this Orenzi, a contracted form, actually, from Ore no Uchi. And yeah, Uchi, as we mentioned in that case, one's house, one's home, one's family, by extension then one's family, one's household, unaccepted. Ore, again, I, originally no, the possessive particle, so yeah, my home, my house. Yeah, simply contracted here. E written as he, to, towards. Then we have the verb kite, from kuru again, the form kite. Here required because then we had mo, the inclusive particle, also even. When used after the form of a verb, we have the meaning even though, and so also no matter if. Yeah, if you keep the even though, you can see why we use the inclusive particle for that, also even. Better here translated as no matter if, and then the rest we'll see in a second. Muda, means useless. Technically a noun, or futility, waste, uselessness, pointlessness, idleness. I also used as an adjective, so yeah, useless, futile, pointless, and so on. Chinese compound, unaccented, luckily, like most of those. And then, yeah, after that we have the copula da, kara, again. Here notice that we used it above for the because. We use it again at the end because it's explaining globally with this sentence. It's the explanation of that. So yeah, that's why. And then last but not least, that na again. Say more like a more like a yo in this case. But yeah, so the translation is as mentioned, because I say to my sister, my older sister, so that she won't lend it to read, so yeah, as in to you. No matter if you come to my house, it's useless. And yeah, so I said that. And yeah, so with that we have finally finished this. And I took practically the whole episode. We quickly still open the game. We have a little time, we might check at least a couple of things. And yeah, we left the Professor Oak's lab there, left our house, arrived at Viridian City, got the thing to be delivered, the package, and then we saved, Pallet Town. We see here what Oak has to say. Yeah, lucky, not much here. Okay, I think there's also a thing. not the best, but yeah, you know what? I'll consider speaking to Hawk later. Okay, no. I thought something would happen here. I think I'm misremembering. These all say the same. So yeah, honestly, let's actually hear what Hawk has to say. Yeah, here it says, Sekai Ju ni Sundeiru Pokemon Tachi ga. Then it continues. Yeah, first we have Sekai. Okay, word. Then we have this Ju. Originally, actually, would have been written as with Ju, as with the Shu, with the voicing. It's the kanji. If we use the kanji, would be the kanji for middle, inside, and so on. We studied it. And yeah, this is the usage specific to this voiced form of it as a suffix, which means throughout, all over in our case here, because it will be all over the word. Let me quickly check its accent when we add the Ju, because I feel like it changes. I should have mentioned it when we studied it, but yeah, as I remembered, it makes it unaccented. So yeah, Sekai accented on the se as mentioned on its own, but yeah, with this Ju it becomes Sekai Ju unaccented. And yeah, after that we have the particle ni, used with verbs of staying. And yeah, in our case we have Sundeiru, from sumu, to live, as in to reside, to inhabit, to dwell. Accented. Here in its the form, we have to follow the rules. It's in verb colon verb, so in mu, so it becomes nde. Again, we change the u into i, sumi te, then the i dropped on the nasal, remained became simply n. That caused the voicing of the te, because actually the voiced consonants were also pronounced in classical Japanese, so yeah, te was actually nde. And yeah, that's why then it's nowadays written as n and then te. The form required because then we had iru to be assumed to exist of animate things, so people and animals on its own. After that, the form of a verb containing action or state. Are living, simply in our case here. After that, we actually have Pokemon Tachi, so yeah, relative close. Pokemon that live and so on, that are living literally. Either way, in this case we know the accent for sure. Pokemon Tachi on the mo, because yeah, immediately before Tachi can stay on the n, so yeah, on the mo. Subject particle ga, then it continues. And yeah, because then it says Reddo, Matte, or Uso. Red, our protagonist, the object particle. Matte, from Matsu, to wait, to await. The form, it's in su, so yeah, it becomes double consonant te. Again, we change the u into i. Matti originally without the change. Then the if mat, and so yeah, simply became the doubling of the following consonant matte. And yeah, after that we have oru, which is the humble form of iru. So yeah, actually same meanings on its own, and also can be used after the form of a verb again, containing action or state. Last but not least, that zo as the final sentence particle, emphasis also with the longer vowel, because it's quite Matteoruso. But yeah, so the translation here is show it from the start. The Pokémon, plural, living, that are living, literally, all over the world, are waiting, red, as in are waiting you. Okay, yeah, we shouldn't have anything else. Yeah, all that we have already checked. I would like to do one last thing. Yeah, we'll ignore what Green said. We went to his house. We talked to Nanami, his older sister. And yeah, she says, Okido no oji-san oshigoto tanonda datte. First we have Okido, cioè Orchid, so Professor Oak. No, the possessive particle. Oji-san, so yeah, grandpa. So in this case, simply the possessive particle to connect the name to the title, we could say. So yeah. Oak, Grandpa Oak in reverse. Then we have Oshigoto, so yeah, as mentioned as in task. Technically work, but yeah, or task better. Here with also the honorific prefix. The accent shouldn't change, it's lucky Shigoto is already unaccented. Then we have Tanonda from Tanomu. To entrust, well, to entrust to, more in general, actually, is simply to request, yeah, by extension, then to entrust to, accented. In its form, verb colon verb, it's a mu again, so it becomes nda. And then we have nda again, but this one contraction of noda. And then last but not least, te at the end, the casual quoting particle. So like to, but yeah, this is the casual form. So yeah, implied. Professor Grandpa Oak said, well, or as it, you are saying, actually, could be, you are saying that Grandpa Oak entrusted you with, we have to adapt it in English, a task. And she says, Taihen ne. Taihen, an adverb. Again, another one with the tai, which is the kanji for pig. Hen, change. So literally, pig change. Yeah, nowadays used as can also be used as an adjective for immense, enormous, great, serious, grave, and so on, dreadful, terrible. Used also as an adverb, very, greatly, terribly, awfully. And by the way, yeah, among the other meanings, and this is the best one for us, would be technically difficult, hard, as in more like challenging. But yeah, then we have the ne as the final sentence particle, isn't it? It's hard. Okay, can continue. And yeah, then she says, Kore ageru kara tsukatte. By the way, notice all the particles that we have seen so far here, more often than not, simply implied. Yeah, the ones that disappear usually are the topic, subject, and object particles. Yeah, for example, here, kore, this, also here an object particle, if not a topic particle. Ageru, the fundamental verb of giving. Kara, this one is kept because it's the conjunction. Then last but not least, tsukatte, from tsukau, to use, unaccented. Here in its te form, inu, so it becomes double consonant te. The sentence ends there, so it's actually an abbreviation of te kudasai, again kudasaru, another verb of giving that one respectful language, superior to an inferior. After the form, do the favor of doing the action of the verb. Another honorific verb that we changed, we dropped the ru and add i, like nasaru, implied a masse, so imperative polite. So yeah, here she's saying, please, because I'll give you this, please use it. And yeah, actually, let's save that to show it. Not that there's much to see. More or less the usual structure. Here it says Red 1 Nanami Kara Taun Mappu o Moratta. So as for Red, from Nanami, her name, so I've seen before, Taun Map, the item, object particle, Moratta, so has received, as usual. Oops, I want to press that. And yeah, the usual here, then the Red put away the town map into the important item pocket. I've seen this before. And yeah, okay, that's it. Okay, let's actually quickly check also this, so that this is done. She says, Jibun no iru basho ya machi no namae ga shiritai toki. First we have Jibun, oneself. Unaccented, yeah, it's a Chinese compound, so makes sense. No possessive particle. Actually, no, sorry, again. As you can see, after that we have iru, the verb, and after that a noun, basho. So actually the no is simply the replacement of ga in relative clauses. Yeah, it's a relative clause, jibun no iru. Iru, so yeah, to be as in to exist. To be, in this case, as in to be in a place. Yeah, basho means place, location, spot, and so on, unaccented. Particle ya, used for non-exhaustive lists. Then we have machi, town, which we've already seen. On its own, accent on the last syllable, not here because of the following no, which makes it unaccented. It's the particle that does that, unlike other ones. Namae, we have seen it at the start of this series. Name, unaccented. subject particle ga. And then we have shiritai, from shiru, to know. U verb, colon verb, so we can change the U into I. To then add tai, this auxiliary adjective, used to make the desiderative form of the verb. Want to do the action of the verb. Yeah, in practice it's a compound, but with this meaning. After it we have toki, so technically relative clause refer to toki. Toki, centered on the key on its own, means time, moment, occasion, case, and so on. In practice, then we can simply translate it as when doing the action of the verb before it, even though in structure it's relative clause modifying toki. So yeah, so far she says in the time, occasion, and so on, in which you want to know, or yeah, first let's actually go up. The place in which you are, and or better in this case, when you want to know the name of a town. And then she said, town map tsukau to iwa yo. Town map tsukau again to use. To another form of the conditional if when. This is the closest one to the zero conditional in English, but also other usages, and like this one. After it, we have technically if when you use the town map and so on. I, as mentioned, it's good. Then we have wa as the final sentence particle, female term of language. Emotion or admiration. Usually simply use the quote-unquote emotion by because it's a female term, like in here for female characters. Yo, you know. Yeah, this structure, to, I. Yeah, literally, if you do that, it's good. So yeah, in the sense, you should use it. And so, the town map, and so on, everything we have already mentioned. So yeah, with that, we've actually checked also that. We've already got also that. I wanted to do at least a little something in gaming, at the very least that. So yeah, funny enough, Green said that, but he left. My guess is that he actually left and forgot about it, about telling to her, because yeah, she had no idea straight up. Yeah, so we can actually save the game. Okay, can close. And yes, so today we mostly finished Ox's speech. But luckily we also had at least a little time to start the game, check out what Oak had to say as his line after his speech, which was new, and then we went to Nanami, Daisy Oak in English, to get the town map. And yeah, we heard also what she had to say after. So yeah, next time we should be on Unless Plans Change on Wednesday as usual. We'll first, I check quickly around town. I don't think there are any additional things to see. But after that, we'll actually start going towards back. We'll go back to Viridian City. Something might happen on the road, but we'll see. And yeah, So yeah, we'll then continue from there. Yeah. See you next time.